But the go to Harvard's Paul Wylie, or the current leader in the competition, Daniel Duran. Who will stand highest in the victory stand? We'll find out today. From Baltimore, Maryland, ABC Sports presents the United States Figure Skating Championships.
Hello, I'm Jim McKay reporting from the Baltimore Arena on this final day of competition in the 1989 U.S. Figure Skating Championships. Very shortly, we're going to be seeing live the men's championship final, and a tight battle that is, with a surprising leader right now, Daniel Duran, who's been at it for some years but never found himself in this position going to the final phase. Christopher Bowman in second place is still expected, however, to be the new champion. Todd Eldridge third, Paul Wylie, a surprise being as far down as fourth, and then Eric Larson in fifth position. We'll be seeing all of them live. Why is Paul Wylie so far down? Let's take a look at his first jump in the original program, which up until this year was called the short program. Couldn't land the jump, and it was all uphill from there. Now, before we see the men's competition, we're going to see the dance. With me, as always, is a long time skating since he was 6 years old. He's been in a number of national championships, but the best he's ever finished was fourth, and that was last year. But now he is the leader, Duran. Now let's take a look at Todd Eldridge, who was a somewhat surprising third in these championships. 17 years old, originally from Hyannis, Massachusetts. His dad's still a commercial fisherman back there. He now lives in California with his mother in third position. Let's take a look at the standings as we come to this final round. Duran the leader, followed by Christopher Bowman, who is still the favorite, then Todd Eldridge, Paul Wylie, and Eric Larson. And as for the order of skating, remember, it's a blind draw within the last group. And just as happened with the women yesterday, the favorite has drawn the first skating position. Christopher Bowman will skate first, and that's not the easiest position.
It's not at all, because the judges have a tendency to hold back in order that they can allow for better marks as it goes on. But you know, what's interesting about this competition are the two basic aspects of skating. First is the sporting aspect. Christopher Wylie is probably the world's greatest... Paul Wylie is probably the world's greatest stylist, but he hasn't learned to be steadily consistent. Unless he learns to do that, and unless he learns the technique of that and practices it with the same regularity that he does his triple axels, he's not going to win medals. You can't give an Olympic performance on a practice session. You have to do it in the competitive ice.
On the racetrack, we call them morning glories.
There you go. Secondly, is the aspect of artistry. Now, Christopher Bowman is an extraordinary artist, extraordinary athlete. He always says that he sells himself to the audience, and he does that brilliantly. The audience, the girls, just love him. But he hasn't yet proved himself to be a creative force. His role here is going to be based in part upon the magician in Swan Lake, the mad magician in Swan Lake. If he can learn the artistry, the creativity, and the line of those kinds of roles, he will be well on his way towards a gold medal in 1992.
Well, we're in the final moments of the warm-up here, and there is Christopher Bowman, there is Paul Wylie. Two very different young men. Paul Wylie's very serious.
I think I am more serious than the average skater. I think anybody who makes the Olympics has to be more serious than the average skater. And that intensity has to carry over, or else they'll never make their goal, and they'll never be determined enough to make that goal.
It's very tough and very competitive, and you have to be a real fighter, a real scrapper, a real go-getter. And you need that spotlight, you need that attention, you know, to break away from everyone there's thousands of Christopher Bowmans out there. I mean, they all look the same. So you had to kind of break out of that mold, become individualized, become someone else, and, you know, spark that interest in the mass general public that makes you popular, that brings you to a higher plateau.
Paul Wylie is Harvard. Christopher Bowman is Hollywood. Both skated in the Calgary Olympics. Wylie finished 10th. While Bowman finished 7th. The teammates were also roommates, which caused some problems.
Chris would be up very late, and I would want to sleep, and he'd flick on the lights and start, you know, yelling around when he'd come in, and I'd be just like intolerant of that a little bit. And what I needed to do was bend a little bit more, but he needed to be more considerate. So I think, you know, we sort of played off each other that week.
Paul was great, though, because he was the only one that like attempted to like hang a T-shirt up, you know, and I just kind of like let everything, you know, just kind of part the sea. I used the shovel and the squeegee.
They are indeed the odd couple of skating. Wylie, a worshiper of learning. Bowman, a worshiper of the sun. While Paul walks through chilly Harvard Yard, Bowman clowns for the girls in the California surf. But they both can skate and have come to admire each other.
There's a really big difference between Paul and myself. We're like night and day.
The mothers look to me as the one that they want to introduce their daughter to, and they look to Chris as the one that they don't really want to introduce their daughter to. They're a little afraid of him, but the girls look to Chris as the one that they want to go out with. So, who's right?